Hey guys, Cookie here, along with Swanee, and it is podcast time. We are going to talk about Sony's PlayStation 5 conference that just happened, and give all of our first impressions and opinions on the exclusives that were released, the hardware of the PS5 itself, and just the conference as a whole. But before we get started, Swanee, how are you, my friend?
I am good. Thanks for asking. How are
think
you?
It's fair to be kind at the beginning. Thank you for asking as well. I am relatively decent, and I couldn't ask for more than that.
You feeling good from this PlayStation event?
Well, that's a great place to start. As a just general feeling that I got out of the PlayStation 5 conference was very meh. There's some good stuff in the conference, but there's a lot of stuff that I guess was just relatively disappointing, which kind of jumps into my first overall question of just how did this conference... how did you come out of this conference? Just literal first impressions of the entire hour and a half or so.
Okay. Well, before we get into this, I want to say that me and Cookie aren't really picking sides with the whole console war. There's always the console war. And I'm looking at it unbiased. I don't care which one's good because I'm probably going to get both the Xbox and the PlayStation. So I'm not rooting for PlayStation to do better or Xbox to do better. So I'm just going to give my opinions based off of everything I saw. And based off of this event, they're trying to sell the next generation of console. And a lot of PlayStation fans are probably going to get the PlayStation anyway, so they need to, try to convince some of those Xbox players and PC players or whoever, Nintendo, Switch players, to buy this PlayStation. And this event it was just kind of for me. They showed off a lot of games that just weren't console sellers, and then the console sellers that they did show off, they didn't really show off that much or that many of them. It was just... there was some impressive games, and some of the graphics look really good with some of those games, but a lot of them were just small indie games that no one's ever heard of, and it just didn't look like I want to go out and spend $500, $600 or however much for this console for some of these games.
And that's the other thing we'll get to. We don't know how much that is going to be because they didn't reveal what the price was of the new PlayStation 5. So
which
that's
is
a whole nother,
so stupid. Yeah. That's just them trying to compete with Xbox. And just give your freaking price. Are they just going to wait till Xbox reveals it and then they're going to go cheaper?
Yeah, we'll talk about all the big games that came out of this conference, but I think what was kind of disappointing for me about the conference as a whole was the big games that they showed very little of, and I didn't see a major difference between what they would have looked like on the PS4 and this new hardware on the PS5. Most of the games looked exactly the same as far as graphics. Certain games look beautiful, but it's what I would have expected if the game came out on the PS4. I didn't see oh my God, that's such an upgrade. I didn't see anything to blow me away about this new system. But we'll talk about it.
When you look at the
down.
PlayStation 3 and the 360, or the PS2 to PS3, those are major jumps. PS2 to PS3 is a major jump. The PS3 to PS4 was a major jump. And then the PS4 to PS5, I'm not looking at it oh my God, I'm completely blown away. Now, I can tell in some of those games they're way better, but it's not night and day difference with the other consoles.
Yeah. So the first thing I guess is which I guess would be the most important thing to talk about from the conference was the hardware itself of the PlayStation 5. They revealed its look. They revealed a couple of the accessories. And I guess you could kind of look at this based on what the graphics look like in most of the games, but just the hardware reveal itself. Any real takeaways from that?
Well, I like the way it looks. I saw a lot of people making memes about it and stuff. The memes are going on crazy, and they're comparing it to Wi-Fi routers and stuff. But I actually like the look. It looks pretty slick. It looks kind of futuristic. It's white, and it's got the blue lights and stuff, and I like the look of the controller. I mean, I think it looks better than the Xbox One X. It's just like the Xbox is just a brick. It's just like a little mini fridge. It doesn't have any cool lights, any cool designs. It's just a block. And this thing has curves, and it looks like something that would come out of the year 2020. Like if this was back in the 80s and you said think ahead to the like 2020, they're going to think of like futuristic alien looking technology stuff. And this looks like something that would come out of 2020, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there was an episode on I don't know if you've ever seen Silicon Valley or anybody else, but it was comedic, and this is going to the Xbox One Series X, where they were almost making fun of like how basic and dumb the art style was on whatever product they were selling in Silicon Valley, because they basically turned it into like literally just a box. And that's what it appears they did with the Xbox One Series X. I have no idea what kind of artistic idea they were going for. It's literally just a giant black box, and I don't know why they wouldn't try to make it sleek in some sort of way and make the design sort of interesting. So you're right, the PS5 blows out the Xbox One Series X on look.
I think
it's not
if you're just like an old person, like a parent or a grandparent or whatever, and you're looking at the two consoles, you know nothing about video games, and you see the PlayStation and the Xbox beside each other, which one are you going to gravitate towards? The cool-looking one or the block?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like they're probably going to go with the cool-looking one. It does
makes
matter.
A big difference.
It's going to generate sales just because it's
not just for old people, but look at the little kids. I mean, they're not going to know all the specs. They're not going to know all the like inner details of each game. Some of them might just think the PS5 looks prettier than the Xbox One does. So that's a big deal that it looks that shitty. I don't understand how Xbox, with all the millions, billions, or however many amounts of money goes into that console, and they come out with a giant box after the last one was basically a box, which was kind of lame too. Yeah, so I give PS5 credit for at least getting some design going into their console. So at least they got that. As far as like, we kind of touched on it, but the graphics didn't blow me away necessarily in any of these games, or like make me think that their hardware is such a massive jump up. And I think that's
that might be because
the biggest mistake of this conference, to be honest.
Well, we've come so long in graphics. Like, how much further can we possibly go before? I mean, things look pretty realistic the way that they are now. How much more realistic can we actually get with graphics for it to be like another jump? I mean, that could be why we're just not that impressed with what we saw. Now, I don't want this to seem like we're not impressed with some of those graphics. Like Horizon Zero Dawn and Gran Turismo, like they all had really, really good lighting and reflections, and it looked great. It's just, I don't think it was as big of a jump from like PS3 to PS4 kind of graphics.
Yeah, it doesn't have the biggest jump, and maybe when you actually play the games itself, it'll look significantly different. But watching it in the conference did not really give it any justice. If it does look a heck of a lot better, but yeah, not too bad. Now, as far as the video games itself, I think where we should start this off is kind of where the PS5 conference started off, not with Grand Theft Auto 5, which is
that's
I just thought that was one of the biggest jokes. I don't know why they would have started out with that game.
Grand Theft Auto was out on PlayStation 3 and 360, and it's getting carried over and drug out until 2021.
Yeah, I know. Good on Grand Theft Auto, though, for making it through 3 consoles. Congratulations to that game. That's an amazing accomplishment for that game, but that looks great for Grand Theft Auto. It doesn't look great for PlayStation that they started off the conference there. No. But with the first major release that they actually revealed was the Spider-Man Miles Morales game. We're both massive fans of the first game that came out in 2018. It's one of the greatest. Yeah, it might be my favorite single-player game of all time. I adore this game. So what were your thoughts from the short little trailer and the tease that we got of this Spider-Man Miles Morales, and just knowing that that's where they're going, I guess, with the future of this game and this franchise?
I mean, I'm excited for it because I'm happy that we're getting another one. I did not expect that we would get one so soon. it's supposed to come out this fall. So I thought it was just supposed to be like an expansion. I didn't even know. I didn't even know it was going to be its own game, but it looks good. I don't really know much about Miles. Like, I saw the Spider-Verse movie, and that's about all I know about his character, and I know a little bit about him from the first game, but I don't know much about Miles. Like, I would rather play as Peter Parker, because to me, he's Peter Parker Spider-Man. Now, I know that they're both Spider-Man, but I guess it gives me an opportunity to learn more about his character, which I guess I'm looking forward to. It gives me another outlook on Spider-Man, but I didn't play any of the DLCs or anything, so I don't know if they give away something in that. I don't understand the transition between the two. I don't get why Peter Parker's just sitting out this one for Spider-Man. Like, where's he at?
Yeah, and maybe he's not, but the fact that it's like totally named after Miles Morales makes you think that Peter's not going to have much more than just a helpful role in this. It definitely obviously looks like Miles is going to be the focus. For me, and I played the first two DLCs, the one with Black Cat and the one with the gangs, Miles Morales keeps calling Peter throughout, like saying stuff like, hey, I was practicing, and hey, you got to show me this, and hey, I got to learn how to do this. And I didn't play the last one, but I don't think they expanded much more than that. So basically, the last time we see Miles in this universe, he's basically just in this, just barely getting his feet wet with having spider powers. And now he's Spider-Man. That seems like a big jump. I feel like they could have gone another video game where Peter's the main protagonist, but by the end, it's clear it's going to be passed on to Miles, and Miles may have a more character development or something. Because you're kind of right. For me, this just seems really quick. I didn't think that we were ready to pass this on to Miles already, and well, here we are. I'm still excited for it. The graphics for the very short amount of like stuff we got to see look amazing. And it's made by the same people. I expect the fighting and everything to be very, very good. So this is one of those things, like, I don't know how I feel about Miles taking over this fast, but at the same time, I really trust these guys after what they did with the first video game. So I'm totally all in on this.
I think it'll be really good.
And he's got his electric powers and different powers in the spider suit. It'll be interesting to see how they incorporate that into the fighting style.
Yeah, another game. What kind of bad guys he'll have.
Yeah,
there's just a lot of potential in general for that game.
Yeah, and they used a lot of bad guys in the first one too. They had like 6. So I mean, there's still a lot of options in the Spider-Verse and everything, but it could be kind of interesting. I'll also be interesting to see if any other like heroes find their way into this story. I haven't really heard anything about that, but that could be kind of interesting. We talked about this game a little bit already. Horizon Forbidden West. This is how PlayStation decided to end their conference. There was talk that a game like this, or that Horizon was going to have their sequel come out. I'm just going to give my opinion real quick on this. I didn't play the first Horizon, but now I really want to because it looked amazing. It graphically was incredible. The creatures looked literally out of this world. Really, really amazing. And just the style and just the art style that's going on and the graphics and everything, really, really good. And I heard the first one was really good, and now I really want to play it. And I'm actually excited for this game to come out as well.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this was the best example of graphics, one of the best examples, because everything just looked... It almost looked like it was a movie or something that I'd see in a movie. Mm-hmm. It just looked phenomenal. It looks like all the reflections, the different robots and stuff. And I didn't play the first one either. I'm going to play the first one now. I already started downloading it, so I can't wait to see what happens in that game. And I mean, a lot of people were excited for it, so it must have been a pretty phenomenal game. And I mean, this is one of those console sellers. Like, these kind of games. It looks great, and I think it's got potential to, make some sales for Sony.
What do you think of this game being the last game shown for PS5? Do you think that's fair that it is the kind of finisher to the conference? Especially, I guess, based on what they had Does it make sense that this one finished off the conference for you?
I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's one of their big titles. I expected them, like, I thought maybe they would show off a little bit of The Last of Us, since that's kind of one of their things, but that's also come out for PS4, so that also makes sense. But they had no, like, God of War, but I guess that could still be in, like, development, but they could at least teased it. I mean, I think I would have personally opened with one of their big titles first and then ended with another big title as well. But I'm perfectly fine with them, like, ending out with Horizon. I think it was a good way to end.
Okay. Next game to talk about was Resident Evil 8 Village. When we were watching this, I think we both actually missed that it was Resident Evil, as I think we both missed what the title of the game was, but we were both pretty interested in the way it looked. What did you think of Resident Evil 8 based on the trailer they showed?
I mean, it looked pretty good. It looked like another horror game. I like what they did with Resident Evil 7. I watched an entire playthrough of it. I didn't play it myself, but I know exactly what happened in 7. And this is another one that's going to be like 7, I would imagine. I think it's in first person. And, I mean, 7 was pretty spooky and a lot of jump scares and stuff. And I think this one has a lot of potential too. Capcom has really been, hitting home runs lately, and I think it's going to be pretty good, and I will probably be picking this game up when it comes out.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't play Resident Evil or hasn't played much in the way of horror games at all, this, from my impression, was that the graphics, this was one of the games that we were in a trend of like lame, not really caring graphics, not really impressed, and then suddenly this one comes on, I'm like, okay, this looks like a different kind of game. This is on a different level, so makes perfect sense. Was Resident Evil. It looks really cool, and as far as I know, it should deliver exactly what Resident Evil fans are looking for. The only reason I want to bring up this game is I know neither one of us are really a fan of the franchise, but Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart probably had one of the longest showcases because they showed a lot of gameplay to go along with it. But I was actually shocked at this one, above all else, shocked me how good it looked for like more of a cartoony style game, something in like the just much more cartoony style, something you might see from the 90s, but this looked gorgeous. It was really kind of just totally different for me. This is the one that made me actually think this looked different than the whole like PS4 to PS5 as far as graphics are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, that one impressed me too. It's really, I don't know, games with like cartoon graphics, it's hard to judge them because a lot of people want to see like realistic looking graphics. But in some cases, some games that have like these cartoony graphics actually end up having like some of the better graphics. I know like Sea of Thieves is kind of cartoony. It has great graphics. This is another just great example. I think this is probably one of the best examples of graphics we saw on the entire show. And I would be interested in playing this game just because of how beautiful it was.
Yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous. And I was really, really shocked. Just thought I'd throw that in there. I don't know if I'm actually going to get that game or not, but God, it really, really looked good the way they showcased it. They're making a Demon's Souls remake. This is another game that kind of caught my attention, and another game I don't really know much about, but based on the trailer alone, I would say that definitely sparked my interest. I don't know if I'd go out and buy it, but if it got really, really good reviews or something, it would definitely be something I would look into. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looked good. I don't know what exactly it's about. I don't know if it's related to Dark Souls. I think it is, but I don't know much about it. But it did look cool.
Souls. It has very, very similar art if it's not the same as Dark Souls. Bethesda had a quick show, or I shouldn't say quick, it was actually a pretty long trailer of a video game called Deathloop, which had a very kind of unique look to it. Did you have any interest in that game when you saw it?
I actually didn't. That was the game that reminded me of... the Deathloop, is that the one that was in like space?
No, that was the one that was like... It almost looked like a Tarantino style game. It was
the Deathloop was the one that was like cartoony.
You thought it might be Dishonored at first. Yeah, it's a little cartoony.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. The cartoony game reminded me of Dishonored, like with its powers and stuff. And I'm pretty sure this is an exclusive game. Like Bethesda's just going exclusive with this, and it just did not impress me at all. Bethesda hasn't been impressing me with like the past 5 or 6 games. Like they just, I think Bethesda's just gotten greedy. I used to love them. Like my favorite game ever is Skyrim, and then after that, they just, I don't know what happened to the Bethesda, but I was not impressed with this game.
Yeah, it looked a little weird. I thought, I always like the idea of video games trying to make the whole respawning thing more realistic, which is kind of what this game would do. But I don't know. The style seemed weird. Like I said, it was kind of like Tarantino-y as far as the like art style and stuff. But I don't know. There was nothing in there to say like, oh, I have to get this game. It didn't impress me. And the graphics were really pretty bad. But I guess that's not the point of the game. But not really interested. Next game I have on the docket is a game we really didn't get to see any of, and was actually probably one of the most disappointing showcases in the entire conference, at least for me personally. That was NBA 2K21. I guess it looked like the effects on Zion Williamson's face looked pretty cool, but then he dunked, and that was 20 seconds of my life I'll never get back. I don't really know why they were even in there if they're not going to show literally anything, because it's not like another video game. Like if they had said God of War 5 or God of War is going to come out or something, and they only show 20 seconds and they don't really show you anything but Kratos' face or something, that makes sense. I understand that, because people wouldn't have known that game was going to come out. Everyone knows NBA 2K21 is going to come out. It's come out every single year. It's always going to come out. So why did they even have to do that showcase if they're not going to show anything from the game?
Yeah, but you could use the same argument.
A really bad
look. What are they going to show? It's the same thing every year. Are they going to show you the court?
I would have hoped they'd show
the players on the court.
I wanted to see how the graphics look like on PS5, because that's a game that, or sports games in general, I've watched it grow in graphics for like 20 years. I want to see if this actually takes a big step forward or not. It kind of looked like it did, but that also looks cinematic and can be really misleading of what it actually looks like on the court.
That's true.
Because I think sports games is one field that could really up in value a ton if the graphics are really good. Could you imagine if you're like watching a sports game and you're like, oh my God, I think it feels like I'm actually watching a real basketball game. So that's one thing that I think they could have done more with and just simply didn't. But probably spent too much time talking on that already based on what they showed. Hitman 3, I know you played the Hitman games. Were you interested at all in what they showed?
And then they didn't show much. This is one of those examples of them saying, here's some gameplay, and then they don't know what gameplay means. Because, the guy came out on stage or whatever in front of the camera, and he's like, now that you saw the trailer, here's some gameplay. And then they just showed another trailer. Like, that's not gameplay. I don't care that the trailer is from the in-game engine. That doesn't show me what the gameplay looks like. Yeah. Just a cutscene in a video game is not the same as when you play the video game. They're two completely different things. So they didn't show any gameplay. Yes, I'm excited for this game. I'll probably get it because the Hitman games are pretty interesting. I like the stealth and different stuff, but they didn't show any gameplay, and that's just stupid. It pissed me off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, graphics look pretty nice, but yeah, I hate that argument too when they say they're going to show gameplay and they just show more of the trailer. So yeah, that was definitely a disappointment. The last video game to really hit on is kind of got lost in the indie games in there somewhere, but it looked interesting to me. I think we both talked about it on the stream. It's called Godfall, which is made by the Gearbox software who makes the Borderlands games. And based on what it looked like it was saying, it sounded like it would be kind of like a very melee-based beat 'em up, but with the same kind of Borderlands feel, especially as far as collecting weapons and just mass chaos and stuff. That's an interesting if it does go that route, which it looked like it would, that could be really, really interesting in a game I would actually love to play if that actually is what that game truly turns out to be.
Yeah, it looked like it would be fun. Like if you could play it with your friends and stuff, it's got potential. Any game where you can just hack and slash and relax and just kill stuff with your friends is, I mean, I'm down for it.
Yeah, there's so many first-person shooters out there. Why not throw a little bit more of the melee-type battles in there and in sort of the same sort of format as some of those FPSs? So I'd be totally down for it. I really hope that is what that game becomes, because that would be something I'd look into. So if you were to just overall give the PS5 conference out of 10, what would be the grade that you would give it? What rating would you give it out of 10?
Honestly, I know when I first reviewed it as we watched it, I gave it like a 2 or 3 or something. But I'm after letting it digest, I'm probably going to give it like a 4. Like I was not blown away. I've seen tons of people on Twitter and stuff, like the ones that are just Sony fanboys all the way. They're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And it wasn't that good. It didn't blow me away. I mean, they revealed it, but they didn't even give you the damn price of their console. I mean, that's pretty important. They show it off. They show off the games. They don't even tell you how much it costs. I mean, the way consoles are now, it's pretty hard not to argue you can just get a PC. And you can get a pretty good PC for, $500 and up. So that was kind of important for them to do that. And they didn't show too many exclusives that are making me want to just go out and, like, if I have to choose between Xbox or PlayStation at launch, I'm going to buy one before the other. And I haven't seen the Xbox conference yet, but based off of everything I've seen with this, I'm not really gravitating towards it. So I just wasn't that impressed. So I'm giving it like a 4.
Not only that, you have to think that people who have a PS4 and are thinking, all right, do I need to upgrade now or should I just wait? Do you see anything in this conference that are like, yeah, let's spend if you're imagining it's $500 plus or $600 or maybe it's even $400, but no matter what the price is of it, do you really feel like you need to upgrade based on what we saw? And I would say no. I just stick with the PS4 and maybe get the PS5 a couple years down the road. I think that's one of the major things they're trying to do is get people to buy it early, and I don't see any reason to do that based on it. So I totally agree with you. I'd give it 4 out of 10. That's exactly the same score. People might think based on what we've talked about here, maybe it might look like we liked it more because we pointed out all the games that we're interested in, but there are also about 30 to 40 more minutes of stuff that just had no interest and nothing for us to even talk about. So that might be why it might have looked a little bit more positive.
Yeah, there's a lot of indie games that
it's not good.
Didn't look good. Looked like PS2 graphics. It was just a lot of filler, and yeah, it just wasn't a good conference.
So to finish out the podcast, we got a little bit of time. We got some Twitter questions, Swanee, if you're capable, ready to take on some of these difficult questions from the Twitterverse. All right, so I'm going to start off with a massively huge philosophical one.
Oh, boy.
I think. I can't remember, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. What if you were offered a way to bridge the divide among people, but you lost everything to achieve it? Would you go through with it? What that basically means is if you could make like everybody come together and be happy with each other, but you would die and you would never get to actually see it yourself, would you do it? Would you give up your life that everybody bridges the divide? There's no more
world
issues
peace
between classes.
World peace, but
basically world
life.
Peace, but you're dead, so you're never going to experience it. It's the ultimate question of selflessness.
Then do I
selfishness.
even know if it happened?
Technically, you won't ever know if it happened.
Exactly.
But
well, okay. This all depends
I guess you
on
kind of will.
If whatever religion you believe in, if there's heaven or you get reincarnated, or in this scenario, let's say there is no afterlife and you just go into the grave and you're just dead and it's just poof. So I have to give up my life and I just cease to exist. But I know that everybody has world peace. Do I have to drop dead right now?
Well, I mean, I guess. I mean, so you're saying like, would they give you like a week to say goodbye? I guess, or a week to do everything in your life.
Do I get to see a week of everybody experiencing the world peace?
He doesn't specify. I would say no. I don't think you get to see any of this.
Well, tell you what,
you are a total sacrifice.
Fuck world peace. I only get one shot. I don't care if everybody's killing each other. Everybody hates each other. I'm going to stick to my own little bubble. I'm going to live my life out to be as happy as I want it to be. I'm going to try to do my goals. If people can't get along, then that's on them.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Like, why should I fix all the world problems?
Why should I fix everybody's problems? Because they can't get along with each other.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people would answer this, oh yeah, I'd give up myself to make everybody else happy. But are you really thinking it through?
I just imagine I'm up on the freaking pageant and they're like, would you want world peace? I'm like, no. Screw everybody.
Fuck
Screw
all
the
of
world
you.
Peace. Yeah.
Boy, that would get on trending. Yeah, that's Miss America. Said the fuck world peace. Yeah. Another part is he never says like, if you had bridged the divide, would it stay there forever? I guess you would.
They pull an Anakin in Star Wars. 20 years of peace.
Yeah, and then Palpatine gets back from the life. We don't need to rehash that yet. I don't know what my answer would be on this. I think I'd have to say yes. Because I guess because I'd have to live with that. That every day that I see, like, if there's any unrest in the world, it's technically now my fault. That is like, oh.
I'd be the opposite. I'd see people fighting and be like, well, you pricks deserve it. If you're going to fight over something this stupid, then you don't deserve to have peace.
I don't think I could do it. I think it would drive me nuts. So that one came from Deadlight Gaming. I'd be on the other side. I just don't think I could do it. It's a really good question and one that I think too many people will answer easily.
But this is also
you don't actually get to see it.
But we don't know what happens after we die. Like if you go up to heaven and they're like, "Wow, we saw what you did down there. Oh, it's impressive."
Saw what you did there.
It could be a different story, but who knows?
Yeah, that's definitely a major who knows. All right, another question is this one I know will really challenge you, Swanee. This one is probably a lot more difficult than the last one. It comes from Logan Wheeler on Twitter. He says, what is each of your favorite moment? He also puts an apostrophe or an S in parentheses in case we have multiple moments from the sequels trilogy, the Disney sequels trilogy, the trilogy itself. What is your favorite moment or moments from the sequels trilogy for Star Wars?
The opening scroll to episode 7, because I had hope. And then after
Did it die that early in the movie? Right after the opening scroll, you're like, all right, that's it.
That's probably the most enjoyment that I had out of the sequel trilogy was right then, because that's when I had all the hope and excitement, and then it just went downhill from there.
I mean, for me, I like The Force Awakens. I still like The Force Awakens, so I would think that my favorite moment would have to come from that movie because the other two were hot garbage. But I will admit there's not a lot of like moments that stand out to me. I'm thinking I think the original fight scene, or it wasn't a fight scene, but it was like a chase scene in the Millennium Falcon where Rey and Finn are inside of it, and there's all this hope going in this story and some nostalgia along with it, and the graphics were really good, and it was a really cool chase, and Daisy Ridley and John Boyega both played that really well, and I was thinking, oh, this is this is really going somewhere. Star Wars is on the up and up. There's actually another moment in that movie that I would have said would have been absolutely a classic scene, and actually is considered one of the most classic scenes. It was in the top 100 best scenes in the history of cinema when it came out, and it was the final scene of The Force Awakens, where Rey is giving Luke the lightsaber, and we get to see old Luke for the first time. Obviously, that lost a lot after that movie.
Okay, yes. That was a good
that
moment,
was like
because I had
a great moment at the time.
Questions for 2 years. I had anticipation for that. And then he just, I don't even want to talk about it. It makes you want to gag. If I take away 8 and 9, that was a good moment.
That's a great moment.
Because I'm like, oh my god, it's Luke. It's my favorite character. Oh, I can't wait to see what he has to say. And I thought about it for 2 years. And
yeah, then we found out what he had to say. It wasn't
nothing,
much, and it wasn't good. There was one moment in The Last Jedi I really liked, but I also didn't like because, like everything else in The Last Jedi, it totally killed itself by not making any sense. But when Kylo and Rey were fighting the Praetorian Guards, it was a really cool, well choreographed, and beautiful looking scene. But in the context of the whole movie, it was still stupid and pointless. And the other thing I really loved is in Rise of Skywalker, when Palpatine shoots his lightning into the sky and blows up all the starships. I laughed my ass off. That was hilarious. Because it was the worst scene I've ever seen. Or one of the worst.
It was blew up. They just temporarily turned off and floated slowly
disabled.
back down. And then they turned back on before they could hit the ground.
Yeah, me, you, and Bowen, we were all just laughing when that scene started because it made such a crazy noise. It was like,
well, we also read the spoilers ahead of time, so we knew that was coming, and we just wanted to see if it was stupid in our heads as it was on screen, and it was every bit as stupid as what we imagined. It was
everything we could have imagined. And I also came in after reading that script, and I'm like, they couldn't possibly do that. And then they did it exactly like we thought they would. So that was a touching moment for me. It just really brought me happiness. All right, just one last question. This one's very simple. Well, maybe this is the most complex, depending on how you look at it. This comes from Waffle. He simply asked, "How are you two? How are you guys?" That was his Twitter question. How are you?
Well,
yeah,
I'm good. I mean, I'm as good as I can get outside of. See, I'm in a good spot, but I'm not, because the whole world is in like.
This does sound more complicated than the other ones.
Yeah, it definitely is, because we have like the virus going on, all the riots and protests. Like the world is in like shambles. Everybody's unemployed. Everyone's getting sick and sick and sick by the day. I'm lucky enough to have a job where I, can stay inside. But I'm also in a horrible spot where with my channel, like I have to get it back. And like nobody's going to watch this video. Like the views are going to be horrible on this video. I already know it. And that's just me being realistic. It's not me being like it's just how it is. I like my fans don't watch anything but Battlefront stuff, and it's the worst. Like I don't understand how I can have 100 or 90,000 subscribers and none of them are willing to watch anything outside of Star Wars Battlefront 2. You would think people by accident would watch other stuff. So I have to get out of this rut, and I have to just upload video after video after video that isn't going to get views in the hopes that something latches on in the algorithm. And like, since I started uploading stuff that's not Battlefront, not only do people not watch it, but the algorithm, YouTube doesn't show it to people. It doesn't show up in feeds. My live streams don't show up to people in their feeds. So not only do I have to battle the fact that people don't want to watch other videos, I have to battle freaking YouTube just not telling anybody that the videos are there to begin with. So I'm in a good spot in life. but I'm not. So like, I don't know what the future holds. I really want to have this as a career and keep going forward. And I don't want any other job at all on this planet. I would love to do this forever, but I just don't know what the future's going to hold. So I'm just meh. I'm not good and I'm not bad. I'm just kind of, if I was to rate how I'm doing out of 10, I'd give me like a 5.
So you're better than the PS5 conference.
Yes, I'm better than the PS5 conference.
Well, there's something. He really gave Waffle his money's worth on that answer. That was impressive. I thought you were just going to say I'm good and stop talking.
No.
You gave him it all. I'll give him a synopsis. I'm doing better. The coronavirus is not easy on anybody. It's been a little weird to be kind of cooped up, and I couldn't work as much at the time, actually for a totally different reason, just because we didn't have a lot of patients and stuff at the hospital, so I wasn't able to get as many shifts. So I haven't worked as much. There hasn't been as much money coming in. And it's just been kind of hard to get back to living normally. I guess everybody's kind of in that situation. So that's been a difficulty. So I've been trying to get my YouTube channel going up again. Trying to get into that kind of stuff outside of a normal day-to-day 40-hour-a-week job. And kind of see where that goes. So it has been an interesting time, I would say, for the last 3 months. Like most of the country, it's been a little weird. So just kind of trying to get back to normal, although I guess the coronavirus is peaking right back up. So I guess that might not happen. So I don't know. Like Swanee, I don't know what the future holds, and who knows where we're going. I guess that's how I'm doing. Pretty undecided, but I'm not too bad. At least I'm in a situation where I can be undecided and my life doesn't fall apart. So I got that going for me. So, Waffle, I hope you got your money's worth on that question. That is how we are doing. And if you guys want to ask us any Twitter questions, at me on Twitter, at Cookie Loves Gin. That's at Cookie Loves JYN. Just send me any questions through there, DM me, or respond to one of my statuses asking for questions. If you guys enjoy podcasts of any kind, down in the description down below, I'll link my channel because I am doing a podcast on there most every day on my own as well, if you want to keep listening to this kind of thing. And please let us know in the comments down below if you in general just want to keep hearing us do this week by week. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. And Swanee, do you have any final thoughts for the people? Last time was banana pudding, so I mean, you know.
Final thoughts would be... Nope, I got nothing.
All right. All right, everybody. I appreciate the thought.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Goodbye.